headlines on this Friday afternoon, November 24th, here on the Korean Peninsula. President Yoon is in Paris to rally greater support for Busan's bid to bring home the 2030 World Expo, as competing cities await the result of the deciding vote scheduled for November 28th at the International Bureau of Expositions. Meanwhile, top diplomats of Seoul, Beijing and Tokyo are poised to meet this weekend in the southern port city of Busan here in the country to address, among other issues, the prospects of a Trilateral summit amid the host of geopolitical challenges worldwide. And a ceasefire goes into effect in Gaza for a period of 4 days starting 7 in the morning on this Friday amid a hostage deal between Israel and Hamas, but the former says its military operation against the Palestinian militant group will commence once the ceasefire ends. We start in Paris, where President Yoon is actively making his final pitch in support of Busan's bid for the 2030 World Expo. Our senior presidential correspondent Oh Soo-young starts us off.
The World Expo in Busan would be a place where culture, technology and ideas meet and create synergy between countries. That's according to President Yoon on Thursday, addressing representatives of the Bureau International des Expositions in Paris, as he pushed for South Korea to host the 2030 edition of the exhibition. The international fair, which began with London's Great Exhibition in 1851, is held every 5 years to showcase humanity's advances in science, industry and culture as mirrors of their time, and also set out visions for the future. It's the second time this year that the South Korean president has visited the French capital, where the organising body of the World Expo is located. It is here in Paris where the final vote for the host city will be held on Tuesday. Busan, Riyadh and Rome are in the running to host the World Expo that will run from May to October in 2030, with representatives of 182 BIE member states casting a secret vote. At a banquet held to promote Busan's bid on Thursday, Yoon greeted Paris-based diplomats and BIE delegates and highlighted the growing interest in Korean culture, including food, music and movies, among people around the world. He said with the appeal of Korea and Busan's cultural assets, the exhibition in 2030 would promote understanding and exchanges of different cultures, technologies and ideas as an expo of solidarity.
Korea is a country of future, of technology, innovation, very dynamic, very attractive in terms of culture. And one way to leverage on this is to leverage on tangible things, which means foreign policy, working on cooperation for existing projects, trade, but it's also intangible. Intangible means culture and means potential in science, innovation. And actually the intangible aspect is the most attractive feature of Korea in Europe and many countries these days.
Under the theme of transforming our world, navigating towards a better future, Busan aims to become a solution platform to address common challenges facing humanity by promoting global solidarity and cooperation for development and prosperity. The theme is rooted in South Korea's history of transformation, from the ashes of the 1950 to 53 Korean War to become a tech and cultural powerhouse. During his 3-day stay in Paris, Yoon will hold more BIE-related engagements, leading efforts across government and the private sector, including the nation's top conglomerates like Samsung, LG and Lotte. The top office has hinted that the final presentation for Busan will be delivered by an influential figure in the international community. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Paris.
And while we wait for that final presentation, my colleague Kim Do-yeon chronicles the president's efforts to better promote Busan's prospects of bringing home that global event that began as soon as he entered the top office. To take a look.
105 key figures from 91 countries met during 12 overseas trips and one nosebleed. That's the sum of President Yoon Suk-yeol's all-out effort to host the World Expo 2030 in Busan, as the campaign to host the expo comes to an end in Paris next Tuesday. For him, it is an opportunity for South Korea to become a true leader in the global community while giving Busan an opportunity to develop further, a big win both domestically and internationally. In fact, it only took 20 days from his inauguration to kick things off as he chaired the first committee meeting on the bid.
우리가 가진 모든 역량을 결집해야 합니다. 정부의 교섭 사절단 구성과 파견 계획을 조속히 마련해야 합니다.
Then things really started to pick up pace as he went on overseas trips. NATO in June 2022 was his first foreign multilateral trip where he promoted Busan during his 10 sideline summits.
제가 나토에 가서도 그 양자 회담을 하면서 그 지지를 호소할 때 여러 그 귀국의 그 상품을 전 세계에 그 보여주는 데 있어서 대한민국만큼 확실하게 그 광고를 해줄 수 있는 그런 인프라를 갖춘 경쟁국은 없다. 그런 점을 강조를 해왔고.
As he continued to push for Busan during overseas trips, a chance came to bring the focus back home as officials from the Bureau International des Expositions Inquiry Mission visited Korea to assess Busan. President Yoon welcomed the representatives and emphasized the unity of South Korean people behind the Busan bid.
미래 세대가 더 나은 세상을 꿈꾸고 세계 시민이 더 나은 미래를 꿈꿀 수 있도록 박람회 유치 활동을 진심을 다해 펼쳐가고 있습니다.
In June, he himself was part of the presenters at the BIE General Assembly along with K-pop star Psy and other prominent figures. This is something the other contenders, Saudi Arabia and Italy, did not do, showing the unity from the top of the government to each citizen was the exact edge Busan offered.
We will make it the best World Expo of all time. Central and local governments, companies and citizens, all political parties, and more than 7.5 million overseas Koreans are truly united in their wish for the Busan Expo.
The true highlight was his trip to New York for the UN General Assembly in September. In a span of 5 days, he had 41 sideline bilateral summits with other leaders in town. All this as he made a UN address urging the closing of division in the world, saying the Busan Expo 2030 was perfect for that.
그동안 이루어낸 성장과 발전의 경험을 국제사회와 널리 공유함으로써 대한민국이 국제사회로부터 받은 도움을 돌려드리고자 합니다.
It was during a cabinet meeting after this trip, according to reports, that the president suffered a nosebleed due to fatigue. But it was also the pressure, as amid extreme political and social divide in the country, the Busan Expo is one thing that's wanted by both sides of the aisle. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, human rights groups are calling on the International Bureau of Expositions to vote against Saudi Arabia's bid to host the 2030 World Expo. The call was made in an open letter to the Bureau by 15 groups, including Democracy for the Arab World Now, European Saudi Organization for Human Rights, as well as Freedom House and the Human Rights Foundation. They claim Saudi Arabia routinely violates human rights via unjustified detention, cracks down on women's rights advocates and restricts freedom of speech. Saudi Arabia's capital Riyadh is engaged in a three-way race against Busan and Rome to host the expo. Foreign ministers representing Seoul, Beijing and Tokyo are scheduled to sit down in the southern port city of Busan this weekend for talks that, among other issues of interest, may pave the path to a trilateral summit. Our foreign affairs correspondent Peunji reports.
Top diplomats of South Korea, China and Japan will sit down for talks to discuss ways to resume the holding of a trilateral summit between their leaders that has not taken place for the past 4 years. Seoul's foreign ministry announced on Friday that Foreign Minister Park Jin and his Chinese and Japanese counterparts, Wang Yi and Yoko Kamikawa, are set to meet in Busan on Sunday. Foreign ministers of the three countries last held such a meeting in August 2019 in Beijing. The ministry explained that the three officials will discuss details regarding resuming the trilateral summit, as well as ways to boost cooperation between the three countries, and other regional and global matters will also be on the agenda. The ministry added that Park will also hold separate bilateral meetings with his Chinese and Japanese counterparts. The Trilateral summit between the presidents of the three countries was last held in December 2019 in China's southwestern city of Chengdu. It has not taken place for more than 4 years, largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic and strained relations between Seoul and Tokyo. The South Korean government, which aims to hold this kind of summit before the end of this year, has been in talks with Japan and China after the three countries agreed to hold a three-way meeting at an early date during a senior officials meeting in September. Sunday will also mark the first time in more than 2 years that Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is visiting South Korea. All eyes are now on the message China will send in response to heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula following North Korea's recent military spy satellite launch. 배은지, Arirang News.
And speaking about that satellite mission by Pyongyang, North Korea's Kim Jong-un has linked his regime's presence in space to the right of self-defense. Our Lee Seung-jae explains.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was all smiles as he visited the National Aerospace Development Administration on Thursday alongside his daughter Kim Joo-ae. According to the North State-run Korean Central News Agency, the visit came a day after North Korea announced it had successfully launched a new type of carrier rocket, Cheolima-1, loaded with the reconnaissance satellite Manligyang-1. During his visit to the Space Center, Kim said having a military reconnaissance satellite is a prior exercise of the right to self-defense that cannot be compromised. Praising scientists, engineers, and executives who led the successful launch of its first spy satellite, Kim said the satellite has greatly improved the regime's war deterrence capabilities. The KCNA also reported that its spy satellite had taken pictures of Andersen Air Force Base and April Harbor on the U.S. territory of Guam and transmitted them to Pyongyang. The North Korean leader saw the satellite photos during his visit and called for the need to operate more reconnaissance satellites to enhance the North's self-defense capabilities and the effectiveness of its military strike means. North Korea said that the military reconnaissance satellite will officially begin its mission on December 1st. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, 4 days of ceasefire goes into effect in Gaza starting Friday morning in light of the recently agreed hostage deal between Israel and Hamas. But the former, that is Israel, has made it clear that its military campaign to eradicate the Palestinian militant group will resume right after the short pause in fighting. Our Shin Se-byuk has the latest.
Israel and Hamas are set to begin a 4-day truce on Friday.
The beginning of the pause will be 7 a.m. Friday, the 24th of November, and it will last, of course, as agreed, for 4 days.
This means a comprehensive ceasefire in the war-torn Gaza Strip, marking a brief respite from the war that began after Hamas launched attacks on Israel on October 7th. Also happening at the beginning of the truce, according to Qatari mediators, is the release of the first batch of hostages. 13 Israeli women and child hostages will be released at around 4 p.m. on Friday. The two sides also have agreed to release a total of 50 hostages out of some 240 kidnapped within the 4 days. In return, Israel will free 150 Palestinians currently being held in prison. Humanitarian aid will also start flowing into the Gaza Strip. According to officials in Gaza, since the October 7th attack, nearly 15,000 people have died in Gaza, including over 6,000 children, while some 36,000 people have been injured. And the death toll could be even larger as authorities in Gaza pointed to difficulties in retrieving bodies as the war escalated. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the war will continue after the pause.
We'll continue with our war aims, namely to eradicate Hamas.
Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, speaking to Israeli Navy troops on Thursday, also vowed that Israel would resume, quote, intense fighting after the, quote, short truce. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
On the economic front, Korea and Brazil are poised to boost cooperation in trade, industry and energy. According to Seoul's Trade Ministry on this Friday, the two countries have inked a trade and investment promotion framework with Brazil's Vice Trade Minister Marcio Elias Rosa here in the capital city. Annual bilateral meetings under this framework will be held to address ways to ensure a productive collaboration. Brazil is the first South American nation and the 12th nation overall to pen a trade and investment promotion framework with South Korea. Also, the local front, the shipbuilding industry here is seeking to further sharpen its edge over the global competition by seeking green and smart technology. Our business correspondent Lee Soo-jin reports.
South Korean shipbuilders have been turning to green technology and embarking on a digital transformation. According to shipping analysis firm Clarkson Research, shipbuilders here won 1.54 million compensated gross tons, or 62% of global shipbuilding orders in October, overtaking their biggest competitors, Chinese firms, which secured 33%. This upward trend is expected to continue as the shipping industry moves towards alternative fuels to meet International Maritime Organization standards. The IMO, a UN agency that regulates global shipping, revised its greenhouse gas strategy in July to aim for net zero emissions by around 2050. And it's not just big shipyards that are making headway in developing green technologies. This ship right here, operated by a local port authority, is Asia's first LNG-fueled ship. It uses truck-to-ship bunkering, where LNG is transferred from a truck to a ship, as well as an alternative maritime power system, where ships in port use electricity from the national grid, rather than generating their own using diesel generators. Most of these operations, such as the LNG bunkering, have also been digitalized and can now be managed from a command post on the ship's bridge. There are also smart shipyards such as one in Hanwha Ocean, where robots and virtual reality are used in the building process to increase efficiency and shorten development cycles.
We are working towards incorporating the latest ICT technologies to connect the entire shipyard and establish a smart and secure development system that can be operated autonomously.
It has also established a high-tech lab dedicated to researching ways to prevent sloshing or liquid movement that can damage tanks that contain liquid fuels such as LNG. And accelerating digital transformation will help South Korea stay competitive in shipbuilding, according to an industry expert.
The big three are already doing a considerable amount of their own technological development. This means that by 2030, it's highly likely that we will at least be able to reach the third stage of digitalization.
The third stage of digitalization includes building a ship with an AI platform that will give directions to the crew on how to fix any issues, with the fourth and final stage being completely unmanned ships. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Pundits say the development of a non-invasive device to monitor blood sugar levels for patients with diabetes has been the dream for decades. Well, up next, we share with you the advances by a group of Korean researchers. Our Yoon-jin has more.
It is crucial for patients with diabetes to constantly monitor their glucose levels. And it has always been an inconvenience for them to have to prick their fingers for blood sugar readings. But a team of Korean researchers have developed a new glucose sensor. Weighing only 14 milligrams, the adhesive has a microneedle that's less than 1 millimeter long. The wearable microneedle uses a photopatternable gel electrolyte similar to the technology used in semiconductors that keeps the sensor light and high performance.
We've developed a technology that can automatically shape the strips to the desired areas, and the microneedle sensor can be attached as a single item.
The result is a wearable ultra-thin blood glucose sensor, and its accuracy was tested by using anesthesia on a rat. The rat's glucose level was continuously monitored every 20 minutes over 4 hours, and the results showed the same readings as existing glucometers.
We searched for a platform that could free patients from having to prick their fingers for each glucose level reading, for better quality of life.
The research team added that this new wearable skin adhesive microneedle sensor will allow patients with diabetes to monitor their glucose levels more conveniently and only having to change out the strip every 2 weeks. The latest development has been published in the international journal Device, a sister journal to Cell. Yoon-jin, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. In Ecuador, the youngest president-elect in the country's history was sworn in as president on Thursday. 35-year-old Daniel Noboa, a millionaire heir to a banana trade empire and an unexperienced politician, is set to serve only 18 months in his role, the remaining term of his predecessor, Guillermo Lasso. In his inauguration speech, Noboa vowed to tackle the country's ongoing issue of violence and boost the economy by creating jobs. Once regarded as one of the safest countries in South America, Ecuador in recent years has seen an extreme surge of violence driven by rival drug trafficking groups. According to local authorities, drug-related violence has been behind some 3,600 murders so far this year. Following the August murder of anti-corruption advocate, presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio, there were calls in the country for immediate action. An early election was held in October as Ecuador's previous president dissolved the country's legislature to dodge an impeachment vote back in May. The Pakistani government's decision to charge Afghan refugees leaving Pakistan for Western countries under resettlement schemes has been slammed. UN officials and Western diplomats called the $830 fee shocking and frustrating. The move comes after Pakistan announced a major deportation scheme for undocumented foreigners, including refugees, with November 1st set as a deadline for about 1.7 million unregistered Afghan migrants to leave the country. The US government has announced plans to resettle around 25,000 Afghans, while the UK will provide refuge for up to 20,000 in the coming years. Many of the Afghani refugees fled to Pakistan following the Taliban takeover in 2021. In Ireland, police quelled rioting in the capital Dublin on Thursday night, which followed a stabbing incident earlier the same day. Rioters attacked police and burned police cars and trams and caused damage to stores in the city centre, with looting also reported. While the main cause of the disturbance is unclear, police have blamed the riots on right-wing ideology following a knife attack on Parnell Square East in Dublin city centre, which left a 5-year-old girl and a woman in her 30s seriously injured. Police commented that the suspect is a man in his 40s who was also seriously injured. The Turkish Central Bank announced on Thursday another interest rate hike, which sets its policy rate at 40%. The new interest rate sees an increase of 5 percentage points from the previous policy rate as the Turkish Central Finance Agency aims to curb the double-figure inflation, which came in at 61.36% last month. This interest rate hike is 6th in a row by the central bank. Interest rates were just 8.5% in 2018. Kim Ji-young, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It was one rough morning with sudden icy temperatures and that sharp winds. And afternoon highs in most places are also about 15 degrees lower than Thursday, with cold wave alerts issued across Korea. East of Gangwon-do province is under a cold wave warning today, and these cold wave alerts will remain in place through the weekend. A strong wind advisory has also been issued for coastal regions, dragging down the feels-like temperatures. And especially those in the east of Gangwon-do province are having the toughest day with wind, dry alerts, and that cold wave warning issued. Making matters tougher is snow. 충청남도, 전라도, and Jeju could see 1 to 3 centimeters of snow through late this afternoon, so please be careful out on the roads. Seoul seeing highs of just 2 degrees, 대전, Chuncheon topping out at 3 degrees this afternoon. And of course, that sharp wind will make you feel colder today. Tomorrow morning looks to be even colder and stay bitter cold through the weekend. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
And those are the top stories at this hour here in Korea. Thank you for watching, but do stay with us for our panel session coming up right after this break.
입니다. 하나 스탠바이. 하나 스타트.
One blank.
Contour the world, simply contour. India, the United Kingdom, New Zealand. Woo!
I'm excited. Are you excited?
Of course.
Yeah.
Music, start.
한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니? I'm live!
저를 도와주시는 분들이
저희와 함께 해주시는 세션분들
아무리 봐도 이거 먹지 텐션 같은데 아니라고 아무도 안 하는 거고.
좋아요.
웰컴. (24시간) 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 웰컴.
푸른
엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
We are counting down less than a week now to a crucial vote in Paris at the International Bureau of Expositions that will determine the host of the 2030 World Expo. That being said, on today's edition of Issues and Insiders, we speak with a pair of foreign editors of a magazine in Busan and their efforts to promote Busan's bid to bring home the global event and their thoughts on the city's prospects. Hello and welcome. It's Friday here in Korea and you're watching yet another edition of Issues and Insiders. I'm Min Sun-hee. Today we speak to editors of the magazine Busan Beat for their thoughts on the city and its prospects of hosting the 2030 World Expo. For this, I have Christopher Tressler live on the line. Christopher, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I also have Farnaz Piraste with us. Farnaz, welcome back. It's good to speak with you again.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me again.
Right, Christopher, for the sake of our viewers who may not be familiar with this magazine, Busan Beat, could we start off with some information about it?
Oh, sure. Busan Beat is Busan's currently only print magazine that focuses on Busan and what is happening. Its purpose was really to inform, entertain, and help bring together Busan's expat community with local residents to help promote Busan as the innovative city that it is. When it was founded in 2017 by the Busan Foundation for International Cooperation, which is now the Busan Global City Foundation, it was the second print magazine at the time focused on Busan and local events. Since that first magazine was really focused on the local issues and events that were happening at the time, Busan Beat chose to focus on more of a deeper dive into the city, looking at the events that were coming up, as well as those that had recently passed. Unfortunately, the other magazine became an online-only entity, leaving Busan Beat to fill that role as the print magazine promoting Busan. And the response from the readers has been genuinely positive, with many readers telling me how the magazine has made them aware of so many things that were happening in the city that they didn't know about, and also showed them a different side of the city. Like, our editors are a mixture of Korean and foreigners, and they really pride themselves in their ability to bring light to the best aspects of the city, highlighting the diverse voices that may not be heard otherwise. Busan Beat represents many different communities in the city. And this upcoming issue, we have voices from China, Indonesia, Iran, Korea, the United States, as well as many other people providing voice to what is happening in Busan.
And Christopher, how regular is this publication? Is it a daily publication or a quarterly publication?
Right now, due to budgetary constraints, we are printing biannually. We had been 4 times a year, but right now we're focusing on spring, summer, and winter and fall, focusing on all the issues and all the things that happened during that time period.
Right, and talk about the issues for now. What has Busan Beat been doing to promote Busan's bid to host the 2030 World Expo?
So Busan Beat magazine, as one of the major magazines that is one of the major publications that is contributing to the city and to the festivals and events that's happening in the city, has been doing a lot, especially during the last year, with so many different events that has been happening in the city to promote Busan Beat for World Expo 2030. So luckily, I did receive an issue, a copy of an issue of the last Busan Beat that was published for spring and summer in 2023, and that was where the committee actually visited Busan, and so there was specifically a complete report on the Expo week with Busan citizens report on 1 week on-site inquiry region of BIE. It also includes the important news and festivals and events in Busan, and the really a good thing about the magazine, I believe, is that it's published both in Korean and English. So basically, everybody, I guess, can use and can have the benefit of this magazine. It also included the different festivals and events, as I told you, as well as the community events and interviewing with the people that have been contributing in the city, and it actually brings to the people the latest and updated news of the city. The one we're actually looking at is my article, which I wrote about the Night of Lights, which was about the fireworks that happened during the visit of the BIE committee to the Busan.
Right, which I heard was quite impressive. Christopher, if right off your head, if I were to ask you to highlight a tangible edge that Busan holds over the competition for the 2030 World Expo, what would you choose to highlight?
Well, before I go on to that, I want to also mention that because Busan Beat is published by the Global City Foundation, the Global City Foundation, as well as the Busan Beat, really helps provide a lot of different material. For instance, we have Busan Global Gathering, which is a connection of people from all around this world to really come and celebrate the diversity in Busan, and we really do promote things like that. As for a tangible edge, there are so many positive things about Busan. From the land itself, it's got 7 beaches, many mountains, I believe 40 named mountains, and the nature really just speaks for itself. We have strong infrastructure, with it being the intersection of Korea's sea and land routes. That's where they they merge, and that's among many other things. It has so many unique buildings, the 7 bridges that really make up the city's landscapes. But really, the strongest edge that Busan has is its people. I've always been welcomed with open arms by the people in the city, and from my first visit, I could feel how warm and welcoming the people are. They're friendly and always looking out for you. When I first started living here, if I got lost, I could count on the locals to point me in the right direction, and they did many, many times. They're passionate, they're full of vigor, and when they set their minds to doing something, they do it 100% without fail. You can see this in the construction of the structures that the city holds as icons, like the Busan Cinema Center, its bridges, the Centum City, among so many other places. As well as its future plans, like the Busan Opera House and the Busan Concert Hall, which are currently being constructed in the North Port area near Busan Station. As well as the North Port revitalization effort, as well as the planned Gadok Airport. All of these things are really like the strengths of Busan.
Right, and going back to Busan's people that Christopher mentioned earlier, Fernaz, what can you share with us about their enthusiasm with regard to the possibility of Busan hosting the 2030 World Expo?
Well, to what I saw and experienced from the people living in Korea and living in Busan specifically, people are really excited and really passionate about this possibility that soon we are going to hear about. Hopefully we are hearing about the good news. So in my experience, many people are actually really excited, and they are doing their best to support the city to promote for Busan to be the host of 2030 World Expo 2030, and they do whatever they can. In the aspect of companies, I have encountered with the companies that are manufacturing and producing special editions for special products for World Expo, and they support and they present it to the city and to the people, and they show their support and they show their passion to basically support the city. I have seen influencers actually like creating contents, and they really help the city. They really help Busan City and the mayor and the government actually to promote the city more and more. And not only the influencers, basically like all the people, they have the passion to basically create contents and keep the social media also active for Busan to hopefully showcase World Expo 2030.
Right, hopefully. Christopher, President Yoon Suk-yeol has pledged an Expo of Solidarity if Busan wins its bid. Now, keeping in mind Busan's past as well as its present, how does this city itself exemplify this sense of unity, if I may?
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the past. Like Busan really is a city of refugees going back to the Korean War, and it really held the hopes of Korea during some of its darkest days. Going even farther back, Busan has really held these hopes many times in Korea's history, protecting the city from invasion from the east, as well as being the last defense during the Korean War, the Busan front. Busan really helped the country to remember its history and rise from those dark days better and stronger. It's shown its resilience and is still innovative. The city was able to unite and fuse together Koreans from all walks of life in disparate cities in Korea, uniting them under a unique identity that has helped shape the city to become what it is today. The people of Busan are united to host this event. And you can really feel that as the decision day gets closer, they're really anticipating the results. From the city officials to the regular citizens, the people are excited to welcome the Busan World Expo 2030. I've seen so many events where everyone is simply excited and very, always cheering, getting up in arms to welcome the expo to Busan. And I'm simply amazed at how many parties are on board with the expo. Everywhere you go, you can see the buses. They're covered in different advertisements promoting the bid. Every week we've got 4 drone shows, and they always have the logo of the expo. And every time I see it and that I'm there, I hear people just cheer and very excitedly about the event when they see it. Busan has so many international events during the year, like the Busan International Film Festival, the International Dance Festival, the Busan Choral Competition and Festival, among so many other things. And yet I haven't seen the unity of purpose that I've seen with the World Expo. And I mean, even groups like BTS came down and came out of their semi-retirement to help promote the expo by giving a free concert. It's really great to see, and I'm really glad to see so many people are behind the expo.
Right, indeed. And for now, keeping in mind what Christopher has just said, what do you believe would be the gains for the international community to have Busan host the 2030 World Expo?
Okay, so definitely World Expo as probably the biggest international event that showcase the culture, the development of different countries, which attracts people from all around the world, would definitely help the Busan city to be more well known. And this is what we want. This is what people want for probably investments to come to the country. Definitely for being Busan city more well known, and through the World Expo, there will be more investments coming to the country through the companies, and the collaborations actually would come to the country, which basically are going to be long-lasting collaborations. On the other hand, basically there will be so many people coming to the country which are going to fulfill their wish to come to Korea and come to Busan. And this comes to my last point, which is last but not least, the tourism development. There will be definitely thousands of people, hopefully more, coming to Busan for tourism. And as Christopher mentioned, there are a lot of potentials for this beautiful city in case of culture, festivals and events, the nightlife, which is very special to Busan city, and basically it's really something that we can mention about, we can work on, and so many other attractions that this city has, which are going to attract people, in this case for the development of tourism for Busan. So overall, they all have different aspects for Busan to gain, hopefully, if we can win the bid for the World Expo 2030.
Right, and beyond Busan, Christopher, what does any city look to gain by hosting a World Expo?
Well, there are just the tangible effects from hosting the World Expo. If you look at it, people will come from all over the world to view the expo and bring their business with them. This is a boost to tourism. The tourism revenues alone should be well worth the marketing expense for any city when they attract the expo if they win. You can also see improvements in the infrastructure that are to be made in front of the expo's arrival. And then you have the jobs that are attached to all of these improvements. If you just look at Busan, for example, even before the announcement, the revitalization of the North Port has really been sped up because of the bid here. With the two culturally significant places, it's really already led to an increase in construction jobs. There are going to be more hotels that open in the area of the expo. In addition, you've got places like the infrastructure, in Busan, we've got the Gadok Airport, as well as train lines to connect them to these new places. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Busan is already one of the best locations in Korea, and the visibility of Busan will increase, and it goes for any city, leading to a permanent increase in tourists coming to the city, as well as increasing the whole country's soft power by increasing the goodwill from other countries that they feel for the city as well as the country for a whole. Basically, both the short-term and long-term financial benefits really will come from this, as well as longer-term intangible benefits that will occur because of the World Expo. And I'm really excited and hope that Korea will be selected for this.
Right, and staying with that, back on Busan's bid for NAS, you are a member of Expo Friends as a foreign delegate in support of Busan's bid for the 2030 World Expo. Could you tell us a bit about your journey to joining this particular campaign, and also a little bit about your work as an Expo Friend, which I believe we covered back in April when I first met you?
That's true. As an Expo Friend, which is my honor to be a part of that, we actually try to support. Generally, we try to support this bid for Busan World Expo. So Expo Friends consist of 215 foreign residents in Busan from 46 countries that were selected to promote the excellency of Busan as the city to host the World Expo 2030. And I was so excited, and I was honored to be a part of this group. So we all, as Expo Friends, spread the strong aspiration for the World Expo with different activities, appearing on TV programs, such as interviews that I did. There was an Expo song called Keep Going by Expo Friends, and also participation in the promotion videos that the team has been doing really hard work along with Busan City to make promotional videos for the World Expo promotion. So basically, what I did in Expo Friends was the activity as an Expo Friend was to be there to support the team whenever there was any event and festivals, and as a content creator and influencer, I try to use that in order to spread the word and create contents in social media, which basically was my passion. I love Busan, and I loved to be a part of Expo Friend.
Right. Christopher, let's imagine that you were given time to address members of the International Bureau of Expositions, as was the case for President Yoon Suk-yeol in Paris back on Thursday. Now, this is prior, of course, to the vote next Tuesday for the host of the 2030 World Expo. What would you say to support Busan's bid? Let's say you have between a minute and 2 minutes.
All right. Well, I would tell them really to take a look at Busan itself. Busan is a city of over 2 million people who have overcome so much in its long history, and it really helped them to form what has come to be one of the foremost tourist destinations in Korea. It has a natural beauty that is unique in that you can go from the mountains to the beaches all in one afternoon. The people of Busan are strong and innovative, and you can see that this place you can see that in this place that started out as a refugee center in the Korean War, from Gamcheon village to Yeongdo, the people of Busan took what was a terrible situation and created a dynamic city that really has become a center of culture for all of Korea. Busan has vibrant tourism, strong hospitals, and unique locations that are the pride of Korea. It is a unique place in Korea as the port of the world, providing the world easy access to all that Korea has to offer. We have strong and diverse bases of industry that has helped Busan and Korea move from being one of the poorest countries in the world to one of the most economically stable. Many smart people have said that the strength of Korea is in the minds of its people, and Busan has that in spades. Busan is culturally diverse, welcoming people from all over the globe, as can be seen in places like Texas Street, which is a combination of US, Chinese, Russian, and other influences. It's a place that will be welcoming to all people, men and women, rich and poor, and treat them equally. Busan really is the best choice to host the World Expo in 2030. Busan is ready. The world is ready for Busan.
Right, Christopher, thank you so much for that. Farnaz, I extend the same task to you. A very short speech, perhaps, in support of Busan's bid for the 2030 World Expo.
Well, with no doubt, Busan is a beautiful city. So I say this in case of Busan. There are gorgeous beaches in this city, which are not from far distance from the city, and they are very accessible. The nightlife, which is very specific and unique in Busan, and also many restaurants and cafes that people can go and enjoy, and it's a part of the culture of this city. And I would like to talk about the cultural aspects of the city. As I mentioned before, this city offers so many events and festivals which are perfect in the location of Busan, on the beaches. They happen on the beaches, in the nature of Busan, in the temples of Busan, and they are great even to visit and to view. And in case of industry, Korea is pioneer in many industries. Many people all around the world, they have Korean products right now in their home and they use it daily. So definitely, I believe Busan is the best for World Expo 2030. Busan is ready, as Christopher mentioned. Busan is ready, and I say this not only because I love Busan, but more importantly because I believe Busan deserves to be the host of World Expo 2030.
All right, Farnaz, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for your time as always, Farnaz. And Christopher, it was a pleasure having you with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Right,
Thank you for having me.
On that note, we say goodbye. For those of you who have yet to have a weekend plan, perhaps a trip to Busan would be a good idea. Have a great weekend and be sure to show in the same time next Monday.